In this lesson, we'll learn how we can start to extract pieces of polygon surfaces to make new geometry. Okay, so in our previous lesson, we had built up this wing here. Now what I'd like to do is begin extracting and ripping off certain pieces of these wings to start making our flaps in the back. So with polygons, this becomes really easy to do. All we have to do is come in here and start to select the polygons that we want to rip off. So I'm going to press the U key on my keyboard so I can come in here and raycast select these polygons. And I'll just come in here and simply left click, press and hold my shift key to start to add new polygons into my selection. I'll come in here and grab basically these three polygons here, as well as these three underneath. Now if I want to actually rip these off, these can be done through the extract command. So we can go to create, polymesh, and we can extract. Now there are two options here. We have extract delete and extract keep. Now extract keep will go ahead and rip the polygons off into a new surface, but it'll go ahead and leave the originals behind. So it essentially makes a duplicate. With the extract delete, however, if we click that, you'll see it will basically now take these surfaces and completely rip them off. It won't leave any kind of a duplicate behind. So this becomes really useful now because it becomes now much easier to start to rip some of these surfaces off and build completely separate pieces out of them. This would have been very difficult to accomplish with the surface mesh that we were using previously. So let's come in and do the same thing down here. So again, I'll press the U key on my keyboard. We can come in here and grab some of these polygons. Let's actually maybe grab these a little bit further down so that we have a little bit more space between that and this little strip here. So again, we'll come in here and try to grab these. I'll try to make sure that these align properly with this little strip that we had cut out from our previous piece of the wing. Now as I get down here, ideally I would like to have these flaps extend down a little bit further, but maybe not quite all the way to the very end of the wing. So let's start to maybe add another loop of edges right around here. Now, in our previous lesson, if you recall, we were able to come in here and use the U and V iso lines to add a new strip of, or basically a new line. Now, because this is a polygon surface, we really don't have the ability to use the U and V iso lines. That's something that only exists with a surface mesh. However, if we want to do this with polygon meshes, we can do this by going to Modify, Polymesh. We can use our Split Edge tool. So if I click on this, this is sort of a unique tool where it actually performs differently depending on whether I use my left or middle right mouse buttons. So if I use my left click, it will simply allow us to come in and add individual edges. But if I middle click and let off, you can see it will come in and actually split along an entire row of edges, and that's what I want to do. So I'll come down here, just middle click on one of these edges, and it will go ahead and split all the way across. Very nice. So again, tap my spacebar to go back to object mode, press the U key on my keyboard to go to Raycast Polygon Select. And now let's come in here and try to grab these. So grab this row of polygons, shift click to grab these down here, and swing down underneath. We'll grab these as well. And make sure that we grab this little row down here, because again, if we look at our wing flap up here, it is something that extends down into this row, so we'll select those. And very nice. Now we'll run this same extract command. Now, because we have not used any other commands before this, what we could do is just simply middle click on this button to repeat that last command used, which was extract polygons, delete. And now there we are. So now we have these two separate pieces of geometry that we can use basically as our wing flaps. Now, if I were to grab these wing flaps, we'll just select one of these, and for now I'll just turn on this COG option, Center of Geometry, so that way my manipulator snaps to where it needs to. If I were to pull this back, you can see that at the moment we have really just this hollow, empty set of polygons. Now ideally what I'd like is to have this more solid and actually filled up, so we can actually have polygons that go through here and connect this and give this a much more solid shape instead of just a look of a folded up piece of paper. So to do this, we can use a feature in Softimage called bridging. So to bridge, we can do is select a row of edges. So I'm going to press the E key on my keyboard to go to Edge Select. Now if I Alt middle click on one of these outer rows of edges, it should come in and automatically select this entire border. Now with this border selected, we can come in here and go to Modify Polymesh, and we can choose Bridge. So that's going to be down here. Go to Bridge Polygons. And in this particular case, that command won't work because in that particular command, it's actually looking for actual polygons to be selected, not just simply edges. So the command that we're actually looking for is found all the way down toward the bottom. So just to make this easier for you to see, I'll go ahead and rip off this menu. And all the way down toward the bottom, we have these bridge boundary points and edges. So let's click on that. And now you can see it will take, in our case, the selected edges and bridge those together. So we actually have a distance control, so if we needed to dial this up or down, we could do that. So come through here and just double check, make sure we don't see any of those blue border edges. So if you start to see any of these blue border edges, that's really kind of a problem area because again, that means that this is an open mesh at that point. So come in here and dial that up. And there we go, very nice. So just tap our space bar. And now we have this nice closed surface. And we can do the same over here. So again, press the E key on my keyboard to go to Edge Selection. Alt, middle click to grab that entire loop of border edges. And again, we can come in here and just simply middle click on this button to repeat that last command. Actually, it's taking me back to a polygon mesh selection. So in that case, we could either go back, or a little bit easier method to actually sometimes perform these operations is if we right click on our selected components, Softimage will actually display some of the most commonly used tools and commands that you are likely to use. So by just simply right clicking on these selected edges, we can come down and go to this bridge boundary edges. There we are. And there we go. So nice filled in surface now. And we can come in here and just simply do the same back in here. So once again, go to E for edge mode, Alt middle click to select that entire border edge, right click, and now bridge borders, or bridge boundary edges. Very nice. And then one last time, again, E to go to edge selection, Alt middle click, right click, and then bridge. Okay, very nice. So now you can see we have these nice filled in pieces of geometry. Again, this would have been very, very difficult to do if we were using surface meshes. So this is one of the real benefits of using a poly mesh in this particular instance. So now we should be able to come in and grab these different surfaces and nudge these back into place. What we should be able to do is come in and just simply zero out their transformations to get those wing flaps right back to where they need to be. All right, very nice. So now once we get into our rigging portion a little bit later in this training, we can actually now start to rig this up to where we have these different elevation flaps that can move up and down on the wings. So just to make this, again, maybe a little bit easier to see, we can just go to this wireframe unshaded, turn that back off. Now that makes it a little bit easier to actually see where those flaps are. So in our next lesson, we're going to continue working with these polygon surfaces, and we'll look at how we can start to add additional details onto these by using extrusion commands.